I'm Dan Sochan, producer on Sleeping Dogs. So Sleeping Dogs is an open world game set in Hong Kong where you've been tasked to go undercover and try and take down the triads and eventually the dragon head, the head of the whole gang. You're playing as Wei Shen, and he was originally born and raised in Hong Kong, but he and his sister both got involved with gangs and drugs, so his family moved to the US, to San Francisco. Years later, he becomes a police officer, and now he's been asked to join a task force, go back to Hong Kong, and use past ties and acquaintances of his to infiltrate the gang and try and take them down from within. So there's a lot of emotional ties for Wei, going back home and seeing old friends, but there's also, he has a lot of bitterness towards sort of what happened to him as well. And for us, Hong Kong was a very unique and exciting environment. It's a place a lot of gamers haven't gone to before. And it's a beautiful, rich city with East versus West culture and, language with Cantonese and English. It really works well for this style of a game with the free running, the parkour, as well as with the driving throughout the city. The city just creates a very beautiful backdrop for telling this kind of gritty crime drama story.
You must be a very dangerous man, Wei Shen. That is exactly what we want people to think.
We've got a variety of different missions in the game. Some where you're acting purely as a triad enforcer, doing whatever your triad boss asks you to do. We have other missions as well that are much more cop-oriented, where you're gathering evidence, taking photos of crime scenes, investigating suspects, and in the end actually building a case against someone and getting them arrested. So we really enjoy and allow the player to experience both aspects of being an undercover cop. And each of the missions are filled with driving, shooting, and of course lots of hand-to-hand martial arts combat. One of the main focus really for our game has been on the combat system, allowing you to feel like a martial arts action hero. And we tried to do it, make a very simple and intuitive system that also has a lot of depth. So you're also able to upgrade your moves. As you go through the city, find collectibles like jade statues, you bring them back to the martial arts expert, and he'll teach you new moves that you can then use and unleash against your enemies. With the combat, we have one button for doing most of your attacks. Tapping it is a light attack and holding it's a heavy attack. And just by doing that, you're able to create combos. So tapping it once and holding it, and you do a sweep move. Tapping it twice and holding it, and you do a spinning roundhouse. So combining that with the counters system and the grabs, you can get a wide variety of different moves in, arm breaks, slams, drop kicks, and then as well, one of the other unique elements we've put into the game is what we call combat props, which basically when you grapple an enemy, you can take them and put their head into a fan, put their face into a barbecue, basically taking the environment and turning it around and using it against your enemies. At the end of each mission, you're given a score. And we score you on how well you did as a triad. Did you do what your bosses asked you to do? And we also give you style points for how well you actually fought. And then on the other side we have cop points. And the cop points are, did you successfully do your mission without killing innocent people, doing lots of damage to the city? Of course, it's an open world game, so we allow the player to do either way they want. They won't fail a mission, generally for killing civilians or doing whatever else they need to do or choose to do. But we wanted to reward the players who do remember that they're an undercover cop. You can always go back and you can replay any mission again, which creates a lot of sort of fun replayability for the players. And also, all those mission scores are then uploaded to global servers, so you can compete against anyone else in the world and your friends for the best score on that mission. In Sleeping Dogs, we've got over 65 different vehicles, ranging from scooters and mopeds to classic motorcycles and sports bikes to a variety of different cars, trucks, armored vehicles, fire trucks, and then getting into boats as well. Of course, Hong Kong being an island, we needed to get some boat missions in there. And there's a wide variety of different missions the player can play as well, with over 30 different story missions, and then over 100 different pieces of side missions, content, as well as jobs and gambling, mini games. There's no shortage of things for people to do in the world. We wanted to try and be as authentic as we could to the city, and we played with the layout of the city quite a bit to make sure that first goal was obviously make great gameplay, great racing experiences, and street racing routes. But beyond that, in terms of the people, the culture, we went down, did numerous visits to Hong Kong, took tens of thousands of photos of the city to try and really get the look of the architecture and get that as accurate as possible. As well, we did all of our voice recording in Hong Kong so that the majority of the people that you'll see in the world will speak Cantonese, and the other ones will speak Cantonese and English as well, mixed, so that the player almost gets a sense of culture shock, that they feel like they really are in Hong Kong. We took some creative liberties with the city itself, and there's major landmarks that people are going to recognize in terms of Central and North Point and Victoria Peak, as well as the dockyards and the ferries. But we also changed sort of the layout to whatever would work best for our racing, for our missions. But we really tried to make sure that the feeling that each of those neighborhoods have, of Central being often a lot of foreigners, high rises, newer buildings, versus North Point being a little older, very dense, crowded buildings. We still captured all of that sort of feel while playing with the general layout. First time I went to Hong Kong, I was really surprised by how some aspects felt familiar to me in terms of some of the Western culture and influences, and how other parts were complete culture shock. And it was interesting how these worked so well, sort of side by side, and had, for well over 100 years. I found the city to be beautiful, the people very friendly and very approachable. And personally, just seeing, I think the markets is what threw me the most, of seeing the live or now dead animals just sort of hanging, the ducks and chickens and pigs. That was a bit of a shock for me, and not something that I was used to in sort of more Western culture. The airports didn't make it into the game. We felt like if we had an airport in the game, then people would want to see flying, and we wanted to focus on making sure we got the driving and that feeling great, and who knows, maybe in a sequel.
There's this punk guy, thinks he can steal from Uncle Po and live to talk about it. He's at the club. When you see him, take back what belongs to the Sun On Ye Triad.
And the development team at United Front Games, we're big fans of Hong Kong cinema, and we wanted to take the best aspects and elements of that and bring it into a game that appealed to all Western audiences as well. And we looked at movies, John Woo films, Hard Boiled, old Jackie Chan and Jet Li, and how they, basically they didn't sit back and wait for the enemies to come to them. They brought the fight to their enemies, and we try to represent that in the same way in our shooting missions and in our combat as well. And as well, our story was very heavily influenced by Infernal Affairs, which was then remade into The Departed. So we think we've done a good job of taking those aspects and elements, but then also bringing the Western sort of style gameplay and the open world, bringing it together and creating something very unique.
He's in.